already. Now, a little bit about processes then. JTC1 has 4 types of processes. 3 of them are pretty well known. Number 4, almost nobody knows. The first one is by far the most normal process. And today, if you look to the statistics, the average development time for a standard from scratch, you can say, that's the first normal 5-state, is about 32 months. And the time window in total is between 24 and 48 months, so 2 to 4 years. Altogether, JTC1 has published close to 2,100 standards. And about 1/6 of those have then come from ECMA, for instance. The fast track is then typically rather much faster. The draft international standard is the direct vote. It takes 10 to 18 months. And in this process, at the moment in JTC1, since 2002, there are 2 stages. One is the so-called 30-day review period, where organizations like IPQ in Portugal have to try to find out, are there any standards that will not work together with this one? Are there really conflicts possible? And in the case of OpenXML, this has also been done, and such conflicts have not been found by ISO and IEC. So, and after that, you can then go directly in the 5 months, the 5 remaining months ballot, and that has run to the 2nd of September last year. An interesting other one is the PAS, the PES, the publicly available specification. In fact, that procedure is a derivative from the fast track. There are 2 sorts of changes made to the fast track. One is to give the right to submit such a document and use this procedure. This right is given to organizations that have to go through a 4-month ballot process in JTC1, and then if that is positive, they get that right to submit a PAS. And that one, of course, has been used by OASIS for ODF. Yeah? There are not that many PAS. I think there are not more than 25. There are very few organizations that do it, that use it. OMG, for instance, is another pretty well-known organization, the Object Management Group. And the last one is hardly ever used. That's only for insiders. So then you must know a little bit. But it could become interesting in the case of OpenXML, as I will tell you later. ECMA, at the other side, has a very different way of working. It has only 2 stages. One is the technical stage. And there, the group, in this case of ECMA 376, the speed is completely determined by the group. They make successive drafts of the standard. So when the ECMA General Assembly in December 2005 said, yes, let's make this standard. Let's go for it. There was only 1 negative vote, in this case was from IBM. And all others said, let's do it. And in fact, ECMA wanted to make a sort of internal fast track of this. And the name for that comes from an interesting environment, because the model that I have used, and till today, the process is following still that model, is in fact the same model I had designed for the standardization of Java. Java first went to the PIS process. Sun wanted to become a recognized PIS submitter, but didn't manage to get through. Then some people came to me in Geneva and said, well, maybe the other possible way is to do it via ECMA and then go for a fast track. That was an even bigger monster than OpenXML, because the initial size of that specification was already 8,500 pages. So, and we had created 50 working groups to make that also in 10 months. And we have called that since then a catch-up action. Such type of standards are intended to become, I don't know a better word, evolutionary standards. Every year they may change and may be expanded, that's for sure. ODF will happen, it will happen now. OASIS has just started to prolong, for instance, its PAS status. For OpenXML, that would be the same rule, I think. So That mechanism unfortunately failed. I spoke to the people of Sun, and they said, what do you think? Well, also there, and it was very strongly driven by IBM, it costed the ECMA companies about $1 million to get started, because it was really a lot of work to be done. But before we really started, I never forget, Sunday, it was a Tuesday morning in sunny California, 12:05. There came in a lawyer, and I have nothing against lawyers, of course, but there came in a lawyer from Sun, and he said, I have a question. Well, and the question was, he said, in this spec, you see there is a lot of source code. That's no problem. You must simply give it the title, a reference implementation, a model, how you could build the thing. No, that's not the idea. The idea is, it should be in the standard in a normative way. And that is completely impossible. Because that would mean that if he had ever made that standard, that the only product that could comply with the standard would be the Sun Java implementation. He said, why do you need a standard then? That doesn't make much sense. And then secondly, so many smart programmers in the room, tomorrow you'll find a better source code, it can never comply with your own standard. You shoot yourself in your feet. So why would you do that? Since then, nothing heard from Sun anymore, unfortunately. Maybe later they will come back and say, we still want to make it a standard. The opportunity is still there, of course, that's no problem. But it was a little bit a pity, and there have been written many articles about that. I think one of the most basic observations has always been, Sun did not dare to give up the control of this document. A decision that has Microsoft also quite a long time. If I may criticize Microsoft a little bit, I think they have started 3 years too late with the standard. But it's very difficult to give education to elephants. I think that's my blunt observation. And I think Microsoft is, well, is still friendly, I think, is a little bit like an elephant. So that's where we are now, there at the place with OpenXML as where we are, and that we do not have a Java standard. So if the European Commission people ask me, or tell me we can only work with standards, with products if there is a standard behind it, an ISO IEC standard, for instance, then I always give immediately in the second sentence the question, what do you do then about Java? Or, and there are many other examples. Just a little bit of sidetrack.